The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position of ONTV's management, staff, or board of directors.
Detroit basketball!
And hello and welcome into Views from the Sidelines. I'm Joey Tysick. Across from me is Malik Hill as always. And back, sort of in the studio, Chris Pappas. And there is a special reason for that. We are on episode 300, boys. 300.
Can you say it one more time?
300.
Listen, I don't know what year it is. I don't know where I am right now. I'm dumbfounded.
Yeah. So I'll hit you guys with some facts, but Chris, we wanted to say hello. How are you doing? How are things?
Everything's great. I can't believe it's 300 episodes. I'm just trying to think back of when Joey and I, the first episode of Views from the Sideline, what was the topics? What were we talking about?
We just jumped right into it. So I looked back at it a little bit. So I got some quick facts too to talk about, but we were talking like college basketball right when we started. So we started, and Chris, you want to take a guess of when we started?
Oh gosh,
Just
let me think about it.
A random guess.
All right, my guess is the end of 2018.
Oh, kind of close. The beginning of 2018.
Yeah.
So the first,
that's
Listen,
crazy.
I remember because I was an intern starting.
yeah. So the
That's how I remember.
the first episode, at least on YouTube, was January 2018. It was like January 5th. So it was like right after New Year's.
Man.
7 years.
Yeah. 7
Plus.
years. And
A lot has changed.
yeah. And so obviously you moved out and went to Cleveland. But
Yeah.
how many episodes do you think that you were on before you left?
Oh gosh.
That's a great quick
And
question.
I don't
That's a
have
really-
Wow.
and I'll be honest, I don't have the total because you've come back for obviously tournament
So we're saying
pods.
before. Yeah. We're saying before I moved.
Right.
And had
Yeah.
a-
Like how many
okay.
episodes did you make
All right.
before you left?
All right. I'm gonna say 72.
That's not a bad guess either. But
What was it?
I don't have an exact number. I think it's 88 or 89. I
Oh,
couldn't
was like,
I
was
couldn't
gonna say,
find the exact.
I don't think I got to 100. I was
No.
like, there's no way I got to 100.
No,
'cause
we-
I would have remembered that.
We did bring you back for episode 100
Yeah.
to talk, but
Yeah.
I didn't quite make it. So meanwhile, that means Malik, you've done over 200 episodes.
That's wild, Malik. Shout out to
I
you,
can't wrap
man.
my
That's
head around
amazing.
it.
So,
I really can't.
I
I can't
think-
wrap my head around it.
So, I didn't write the episode number down. So Malik made his debut March 21st, 2018. And I think it was episode 11.
It was the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
All right. He started early.
Yeah.
'cause
So he
we were like-
missed the original tournament bracket fill out. That was with Garrett and Sammy. But he
Yeah.
came on to the following week of when we did all the
I believe
post game analysis.
I believe it was when Michigan was playing Texas A&M. They had either just won or they were about to play them.
Yeah. It
I think.
was a year too. That was the year that UMBC won.
Man,
Knocked off Virginia.
that's crazy.
So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And so Malik, you're almost to your 300th episode of being on the podcast. So it's just wild to
man.
think about,
Yeah.
and
Well,
kind of fun.
can we talk about Loyola, Sister Jean? Shout out Sister Jean.
Oh, that's what I should have wrote.
The original
down.
mascot of the
Come on,
podcast.
the
Yeah.
original
Sister
mascot.
Jean.
Yeah,
Shout out Sister Jean.
Oh, man.
Views from the Sidelines, #1.
yeah.
Cinderella.
So that
You
goes
gotta give
along.
respect.
That goes along with some of the things that happened in the 7-year span that we have been doing the podcast. Obviously, the Sister Jean thing. We've had two 16 seeds knock off a #1 seed.
Yeah.
We obviously have done tons of NCAA tournament brackets at this point. We lost Kobe Bryant. We did a tribute to that. The Detroit sports up and downs, as
Listen,
I wrote it.
We've seen the Lions rise. We've seen the Tigers rise. We've seen the Pistons rise from the depths.
Right.
of sports.
Also, can we talk about how just this year, this is the 300th episode of Views from the Sidelines, and just this year, the Pistons finally won a playoff game
Yeah.
while this
Yeah.
podcast has been going on.
So
That's wild.
I was talking to one of our interns now, and I was telling him how it's our 300th episode. It's kind of a fun thing to talk about. He's like, man, you kind of missed an opportunity to do your special at 313.
Oh, wow.
Episode 313. But I said, at this point, Malik and I are doing it every other week. That'd be 26 weeks from now.
Exactly.
So that's like
take too long.
That'd be like the end of the year.
That'd be ridiculous.
Because now we've moved to every other week instead of every week, just because obviously we've all become adults and have busier lives. But
it just makes sense.
Yeah, right. Both Chris and I have kids now.
Shout out you, Joey. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Happy Father's Day to the both of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Chris has got a new pad now. Right on the water.
Cleveland resident Chris Pappas. Who would have
Cleveland resident.
Who would have
Cleveland
thought?
resident.
Sends some shivers down my spine.
But I want to make it very clear. I have zero Cleveland fandom. I run a business in Cleveland, and all of my employees know it is Detroit, it is Michigan through and through, and I make it very clear that is the case.
We know you rep for forever till the end. We know you rep Detroit.
Yeah.
But seeing that Kerry Carpenter live walk-off home run in Cleveland.
Oh, I bet that was euphoric.
That was one of my favorite experiences ever as a fan of Detroit sports.
Listen, I saw them win at home, and that was even better. The atmosphere was incredible.
Yeah. And then, of course, we did all of our top 10 episodes, like our fun summer episodes. We haven't really been able to do that this year because there's actually been Tigers news and other things.
We got to come up
on.
with a few because we still have some time.
Yeah, there'll be a lull pretty soon, but it's been good sports lately. Yeah. Which, speaking of, the whole point of having Chris on was we're talking Pistons. So this whole episode, in honor of why Chris and I started the podcast to talk about Pistons and basketball, we are going to only talk about Pistons. And Malik and I have been talking about it.
I love that.
We've been talking about it for a while that we need to just do a big, huge Pistons overview.
Exactly.
We can talk about like our history with the team and things going forward. But we wanted to give Chris his due to just talk about, whatever he wants. I mean, mostly because of this season. But Chris, what are your feelings right now? Finally getting a playoff win in your Pistons fandom. You haven't been a part of this before.
Yeah, and give us like compared to like when you became a Pistons fan to when we started the podcast to now.
Yeah.
Like the being a Pistons fan through all these years.
Yes, totally. So the general overview for me. So my Pistons fanhood started the year after they went to the finals and lost against the Spurs. So I started so the 05-06 season was my first season as a fan. And so I started out at the top.
They were still really good.
They won 64 games, most wins in franchise history, the first year I became a fan. I remember the most impactful game that season that wasn't playoffs was the Pistons loss. I believe it was double overtime in the Garden. Rip Hamilton dropped 51 points. And I was ticked off. I'm like, we stink. We're done. How do we lose this game? Boy, I wish I could go back to that young Chris and just say, hey, enjoy this moment. Enjoy this team.
Never knew what you had.
You never know what you had. Yeah, but that started just, my insane fandom just grew from there. 05-06, we lose to Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. Heartbreaker to Shaq and D Wade. Then 06-07 was another heartbreaker.
LeBron.
That was us losing to LeBron. The 48-point Game 5 in Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals.
25 straight.
25 straight. 29 of 30. 48 points in the Palace. I remember I think I was in 5th grade. My mom gave me the choice. She's like, you can stay up past your bedtime and watch this game, or you can go to the field trip tomorrow. I said, I don't care about the field trip. I'm watching this game. So I stayed up and watched the game, didn't go to the field trip.
That's painful.
And again,
painful.
I wish I could go back and just, soothe young Chris because he had no idea. But that was probably the most painful moment for me as a Pistons fan. And then it started to spiral from there. That was probably our best chance again to get to the finals. I went to game 2 in the Eastern Conference Finals that year when
Oh,
Rasheed
wow.
hit a turnaround fadeaway over Anderson Varejao to seal the win 79-76 for the Pistons. I was in the last row of the Palace, but it was so much fun. That was the last Pistons win that I would see live for a very long time. Fast forward, I get into high school, want to get into broadcasting, journalism. The Pistons are my thing. So I start blogging for all different websites, and the Pistons are just spiraling. It's
Listen.
what I've deemed that era, and I would like to trademark this. I think I'm the one that kind of called it this in my blogs back in the day, the sad boy era.
Yeah.
The bad boy era, the going to
Yeah,
work
it's
team,
it's a term that we've coined.
Yes, like
it is the sad boy era, and I will take that as a trademark I've established.
Hey, when you mix Austin Day and you mix Charlie V and all those guys, it's
But I'll tell you, Malik, I was so excited about Charlie Villanueva and Ben Gordon.
A lot of
everybody was excited
a lot
about
of
Ben
us
Gordon. Everybody was.
But the other thing about Charlie Villanueva, like I bought a jersey as soon as I still have that thing hanging up in my closet. I'm shocked that he didn't work out, because he was the new coming of what bigs were supposed to be in the NBA.
He was.
He was this stretch 4, slightly athletic, but really could shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And I really think if that Charlie Villanueva was put into a different organization that had a lot more professionalism, a lot more foundational pieces, because we all know what happened with John Kuester, the whole boycott.
Yep.
Adding a bunch of these veterans that just didn't have any respect, like Tracy McGrady. It was fun to watch him, but also the dude was clowning John Kuester on the bench, laughing at him when he was getting ejected. If you remember that sad boy era moment.
Yeah.
Well, that was during the carousel of coaches too.
Yeah, because what we had Q. So after it was Flip, then it was Kuester, and then was it Mo Cheeks?
Was it somebody in between Mo Cheeks? It was somebody before Mo Cheeks. It was Michael Curry, wasn't it? Was it Michael Curry?
Michael Curry.
Yeah.
Right.
There was a couple.
And then so it was Kuester, Curry. Then Curry got fired halfway through. So then it was John Lawyer.
John Lawyer.
Then
it is.
Then it was Mo Cheeks.
I don't remember John Lawyer.
Yeah, that's the one I was trying to think of.
Wow.
Because his son Foster Lawyer played at Clarkson.
Yeah.
And he was going to Lake Orion. I knew about Foster.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so he was big in the community. But yeah, fast forward, then up into 2016, we get Stan Van Gundy. A little bit before that, 2014, Stan Van Gundy gets to the team. We get Brandon Jennings. The Josh Smith era. I also thought the Josh Smith era was going to be amazing.
We all thought they were going to make the playoffs.
I was
got
excited
a Josh
for that
Smith
era.
jersey.
Jeez,
he was fun to watch. I was probably the most irrational Josh Smith fan ever.
He was fun to watch in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Not here.
I liked him in Detroit too. Like I enjoyed watching him just because I thought it was like, oh man, we got our first ever like real free agent that wanted to come to Detroit. No, we were just the only team that paid him $54 million over 4 years.
And it stinks too because he lost all of his athleticism.
But Joe Dumars gave him the green light to play like Tracy McGrady.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that type of player.
There were some moments in that season early on. The Pistons went to Miami and beat the Heat within the first 10 games of that what was it, 2013-14 season. And Josh Smith had a poster dunk over Chris Bosh that I will remember to this day. Such a cool moment as a fan, and I was like, oh man, we got something. Boy, did we not. But it was fun to think that I did, and it was fun. Then the build a wall era started with Jennings. 7-game win streak. That was like the highlight of my Pistons winning from the Eastern Conference Finals to Brandon Jennings. 7-game win streak was the biggest win streak.
My Brandon Jennings fandom had finally come full circle, and I thought it was going to be the new era.
Shouts out to that buzzer beater in San Antonio. You remember it, Chris. You remember it.
I was going crazy.
Yes.
Also, the other funny thing is that was the longest win streak I've seen the Pistons have until this season too, when we won 8 straight games. So it's crazy. It's wild to just how much losing, and I guess how loyal I could be as a fan also is what I'm getting from this. It's just wild too. So then we move on from that. We move on to Jennings tears his Achilles, which is so sad because he was going to be the.
He was really talented. He was really talented.
And then we had to switch gears, bring on Reggie Jackson, which
Joey's guy.
Reggie, I love Reggie Jackson, another one of my boys.
I liked him. I liked Reggie when he was
I also
healthy. I liked healthy Reggie Jackson.
Before his ankle injuries in that second half of the 2014 season,
He was
that
cooking,
first
man.
half of
He was
second half of 2014-15, and then the beginning of 2015-16, dude was tough.
Yeah.
Dude was tough, and that combination of Reggie and Andre, that was one of the best combinations in the league. Reggie won Player of the Month a couple times. So did Andre. Drummond is probably the most impactful Piston in my fanhood, aside from Cade slowly starting to take that reign now. But
It's a wild statement. No, I know, I get it.
It is for me. Like as I became a fan, the going to work crew was sliding out,
Right.
and then there was no stability. Like Andre Drummond was the stability for me as a fan for so long. You know, shout out Greg Monroe, shout out Brandon Knight,
Moose.
two other famous sad boy era players.
Jonas Jerebko. Shouts out to him.
Oh yeah, I made that boy a smoothie once. Yeah, it was amazing. Jonas Jerebko was great. He still lives in Lake Orion, by the way.
Yeah,
too.
That's great. He was at a
he's in
playoff
the
game, wasn't
community.
he?
yeah. He still loves. He loves the area.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was at Game 3, which fast forward to the Pistons winning the lottery and getting the opportunity to draft Cade Cunningham.
Finally.
That was such a fun experience to watch that live, and seeing Ben Wallace being the representative for the Pistons just felt right.
Mhm.
You know, we get Cade, and there's a lot of talk about, is Cade the right guy? Should we go Evan Mobley? Should we go Jalen Green? It was always Cade. I was on Cade. It was Cade always. Everybody else is second, and it took a while for us to get there. He's had his injuries, but Cade is finally getting his flowers. He's the leader that we thought he was. He is developing into that slow-mo Luka Doncic type of mold that everybody wants to play with. He wants to facilitate, get his team going, but also knows when it's a big moment. And it's been so cool to see the revitalization of the Pistons and Detroit actually like embracing this team. This was the first Pistons team that there's been actual community embracement of this team and the foundation. It wasn't like that in 2016. You know, you had partial fans and people just coming to the game. Half the arena was Cleveland Cavalier fans when we got routed by LeBron.
Yeah.
And then in 2019 against the Bucks, half the arena were Bucks fans. Blake Griffin, we loved Blake Griffin, but
I give so much credit to Blake to this day. He should not have played that playoff series. He was hurt.
Yeah. He couldn't play.
He should not have played.
Blake Griffin, as good as Cade Cunningham was this year, I think Blake Griffin is the best Piston I've ever seen in one season.
He was an All NBA player. Like, he was a top 10 player in the league.
He was All NBA third. He was All NBA third.
He was incredible. He was incredible.
Yep. And if he wasn't hurt, the Pistons win a couple games in that series. You can't tell me they don't.
They win at least one if he's fully healthy, at least.
I saw a meme over the past year when the Pistons were finally making it to the playoffs, and like people were like, "We've made it through all the tough times." They showed the starting lineup for Game 1. I think it was Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, Bruce Brown. No, it was Reggie Jackson, Bruce Brown, Tony Snell, Thon Maker, Andre Drummond. I'm like, and that's why we got swept.
The cardio king, Tony Snell.
Cardio king.
Yes.
But now we're in a different spot. The Pistons have so much excitement. The arena was crazy. If anybody had the opportunity to go to Detroit for Game 3, 4, or 6, it was a movie. It was the loudest I've ever heard that arena. And I can say that because when I went to the Eastern Conference Finals, I was in the Palace. So that was the loudest Little Caesars Arena has ever been. When Tim Hardaway Jr. hit his back-to-back threes, put the Pistons up 4 in the second quarter, that was the loudest pop that I've ever heard in the building. It was amazing. I was fortunate enough to have really great seats, a couple rows up from the floor. And man, I would do it all over again, spend whatever money to get that close and feel that environment. Talk junk to Patrick Ewing. I said a couple words to Ben Stiller as he passed by my seat.
That's awesome.
It was so much fun. I had one of the ushers telling me, don't worry, you can say whatever you want. I'm not going to throw you out. And that was all the permission that I needed. So it was so much fun. It was amazing. So now we're looking to our first off season of excitement and something to build on. And truthfully, if you asked me today to make a prediction on the Pistons win or loss record for next year, I'm picking them to win 50 games next season.
I love it. I love it. Listen,
my official prediction right now is 50-32.
I was literally about to segue to the East completely flipping, and things are changing all over the league. But Giannis,
I mean, Desmond Bane to Orlando was huge.
Yeah, but Giannis is most likely gone. Jason Tatum is out for at least a year. The Celtics have to dissolve half their roster.
Yep.
Besides the Knicks and the Pacers, like Orlando and Detroit are those teams that their window's opening now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the only thing is what I would disagree with is I don't think Giannis gets traded.
You think he's going to stay in Milwaukee?
I think he's staying. I think he's in the mold of a Kobe Bryant, of someone that wants to stay with an organization. He's got his championship. I think I would be surprised. Honestly, if you asked me today, I would be surprised if Giannis was playing for another team at opening day.
Mm. I mean, I haven't heard any rumors lately, but I still just like he's at a point in his career where his prime could be wasted if he doesn't leave. Because Milwaukee,
is it wasted though? But is it wasted?
Milwaukee can't roster build anymore. He still wants to contend. He still wants to win championships. He has that fire inside of him.
Sure.
And as that type of competitor, he's smart. He knows like the roster Milwaukee built around him last year was a joke, and the Doc Rivers hire was a joke. Like I wouldn't be taking them seriously at this point.
Well, okay, we got to put some context on that too. I think Giannis had he likes Doc. Giannis also wanted Doc. Who was it? Was it Adrian? What was his name? Adrian Griffin was the head coach before Doc, and he got fired because Giannis strongly disliked him.
Well, the whole team, there was a mutiny basically.
Sure, but the whole organization has definitely pivoted on what Giannis has wanted. Yeah. Giannis wanted another player alongside him. They got Dame Lillard. Yes, he's had his health stuff, but at the time, that was a big move for them.
That's the one move I understand. And then they made the Kyle Kuzma move, and everything went down the toilet.
Yeah, Chris Middleton's. I think his career is. I think he plays a couple more years and he's done. I mean, he's been battling injury. Kuzma is a terrible player, which I whatever, you're trying to get something going, but I think Giannis stays in Milwaukee. I think he finishes his career there. I think there's a better chance that Durant ends up in Detroit than Milwaukee trades Giannis.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know where I stand on that either, because ultimately the thing that changes it for me with Giannis is, like you said, he has the ring, so he doesn't need to necessarily ring chase unless he wants to keep winning, which obviously he seems like a competitor that he wants to keep winning, and I'm with Malik on that fact of like, I don't know how you keep winning on this Milwaukee team the way that the direction that they're going.
Yeah. I mean, but that's why you hire a GM or you're bringing a new president or whatever. That you can make moves to create a new roster with Giannis. And the question I would have for Giannis, and I think the question that Giannis has to answer himself is, do I want to be in the history book of being one of the best players of all time? Is that an actual realistic thing that I can accomplish right now based on how my career is gone? Or do I lean into being potentially the greatest Milwaukee Buck of all time and literally being the face of the organization and being just cherished for being the one that brought a championship to Milwaukee, stayed through the tough times, has every single record in their record book that just won't be broken unless someone else crazy comes along. Yeah. So I think Giannis is going to lean into the Milwaukee history. Then he's going to ring chase like a Kevin Durant would and go to Golden State and get whatever rings.
Yeah. I don't know, though. Is Giannis already he's basically already the best Buck almost.
Yes. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, but Kareem wasn't there long
Kareem is
enough.
cemented more as a He is a Buck, but Oscar Robertson is like the Buck.
I think OG Buck fans don't like Kareem because he left. The only guy that I could think of is Oscar Robertson.
Yeah, I don't know any Bucks fans that are mad about a certain player leaving. I feel like that fan base.
Oh, they were upset about Kareem leaving.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And to go to the Lakers, the Lakers of all teams at the time. And
I feel like they've gotten over it. That happened at the time, but they've gotten over it. I feel like.
I feel like Giannis can write history right now. Don't be the star that leaves when you need rings like Kareem did. All right, now stay through it and see what you can do.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't
Could
know.
be interesting.
I just don't know if the Bucks have enough to like get something done. Like they've dissolved so many assets.
What I do really think, though, taking the Bucks aside, I think this is going to be one of the craziest off seasons when it comes to star players moving, though.
Yeah,
That we're going to see in a long time. Like
and
already Desmond Bain being moved from Memphis
Yeah.
to Orlando, which honestly, I think Orlando overpaid a lot for Desmond Bain.
The picks they are overpaid, but when you see the Mikal Bridges thing and now this, it seems like it's becoming like a normal thing, which is crazy. But the money is going up in the league. People are throwing around picks like they just have like a ton of them in their pockets. Like this is the new norm, it seems like.
And Desmond Bain is one of the younger guys apparently that was available out there. Like a lot of other teams are talking about, KD and all the Celtics guys and things like that. So like, again, talking about how weak the East could be potentially, that the Magic are just going for it. Like Malik and I were talking before you got on that the Magic have to be a top 4 team next year in the East for this to work out.
And
I will say Desmond Bain is the perfect fit for their roster.
Absolutely.
They're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams.
And Desmond Bain is the second best catch and shoot 3-point shooter in the NBA, second or third,
he's a fantastic
behind
shooter.
Steph Curry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get the move, totally understand it. And I think if you're Orlando and you've been in the doldrums of the NBA for so long, you make this move. You take your chance. You got Paolo, you got Franz, make it. I get it. I'm just saying from the standpoint of what we saw the Knicks pay for Mikal and how Mikal turned out, I think that could be very similar to what happens with Desmond. And Memphis, when they got that offer, they had to make that move. You have to pull that trigger.
Yeah,
if you don't think you're a championship team, you take your 4 picks unprotected, get off that contract, and move in a different direction. Now, they're saying they're keeping John Morant and Jaren Jackson. I don't know if that's the case. I bet you could get them for a certain offer.
That was the other thing. Malik and I think that one of them is leaving.
Yeah.
And I don't think they get rid of both of them, but it feels like they're going to keep one and trade the other away. And
we most likely think it's Ja that's probably going to be sent away.
I've heard some smoke. I've heard some stuff. Keep your eye on Ja Morant in Miami.
I've seen that. I've seen a little bit of that.
That sounds like the worst pairing of all time.
Worst or best? I think if anybody can get to
it can rejuvenate
them and Heat culture.
It could rejuvenate them.
But for the media, it might be the best because also the Miami culture, not necessarily Heat culture. Heat culture would be good for him, but the Miami culture and the parties, I don't think that's a good idea for him.
I don't think the party stuff has never been the issue for him. That's never been
but
the
it's
issue.
the social aspect and stuff. So
I was just gonna ask, what's the gun laws in
like,
Florida?
I don't know. That would make me nervous.
Listen, if he hasn't grown from it at this point, then no city is going to work for him.
Yeah.
Because you can find guns and people to hang out with in any city.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, he's so talented. You got to take the chance on it. Like even if I'm not saying this is going to happen, and I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm just saying if whatever crazy way they Pistons trade Jaden Ivey for John Morant, I would be like, I get it from a talent perspective. I get it. Take your chance.
Now, if they went the other way and they said that Jaren Jackson is available, I'm telling the Pistons to make that call.
Okay, so that's where I was going to transition to. 2 players that I think the Pistons have already either made calls on or will make calls on. Jaren Jackson Jr., especially after this move.
Mm-hmm.
He fits exactly what they're going for. The Pistons are going for a stretch big that can spread the floor a little bit, but are still a defensive anchor. That's why there was so much talk about Miles Turner. Now, there's no longer – Miles Turner's going to sign a long-term deal with the Pacers, so that's off the table.
Finally, the Miles Turner trade rumors are over.
Yeah.
What's it been, 10 years?
At least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since he's been drafted. Since he's been drafted. But Jaren Jackson would be the perfect fit. Another player to keep an eye on, too, new president of the New Orleans Pelicans, Joe Dumars, former president of the Pistons, Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy is a big, small forward that could sneak into that 4 spot, or you have Tobias sneak into that 4 spot, and Trey still stays at the 3.
That seems like a dream to me. I almost feel like I would be shocked if they traded Trey Murphy.
Yeah.
I would be shocked.
I mean, Trey Murphy would fit with this team like a glove. But what do you do if you're
I'd
Joe
love
Dumars?
it. I would love it if they
What
did
do you
it.
do? Hear me out. What do you do if you're Joe Dumars? You just took over this team. You're probably you have some talent, but what are you going to get with this talent? You have to change the culture up a little bit. You're probably going to move on from Zion. And then if a team like the Pistons call and say, hey, Joe, we got 4 first-round picks we're willing to offer you, plus Ivy, plus whatever, or maybe Ron.
Tobias has to go in there because of the money. Tobias has to be in almost any trade because of the money. That's the sort of unfortunate part.
Does he? Let's see.
Yeah, because he's the highest on the books, I believe.
Tim Hardaway has a player option.
I feel like Tim isn't going to be with the Pistons.
Almost every.
You can put Isaiah Stewart in there, Joe, because he's
yeah.
15
I guess his is like 15.
I'll look it up right now. Like, I gotta see what Trey's making.
Yeah, because I was messing with some stuff the other day too. Because this was a topic that I wanted to bring up: is who could the Pistons go after this offseason that would make sense?
Actually, Joey, Trey Murphy is in the perfect opportunity. He's making $5 million right now. So
when's his contract up though?
He's on a 5-year deal. It says I gotta look this up.
I know
I don't remember. He got the extension already.
He got an extension.
Oh, he got the extension. So
yeah,
okay.
Like
that's why I was confused.
So this is the time to trade for him because his cap hit this summer and going into the next season is $5 million. So Ron Holland, technically, you could trade Ron Holland.
Yeah,
and that would fit just perfectly. Which I love Ron Holland. Just saying.
But if you could get Trey Murphy, who's kind of established himself and is, I think, coming into his best basketball right now, that would be my number one target. I think personally, maybe. Oh, yeah. If Jaren Jackson was available, I think he's above. But yeah, there's guys like Trey Murphy, Jaren Jackson. You mentioned KD is out there. I don't think he wants to come to Detroit, even though he likes Cade and stuff. But
well, I don't think KD's going to go where he wants to go. I think a dark horse team is just going to make a trade, and he's going to play out a 1 year.
And it's just
contract.
overpay.
Yeah,
and then guys like, would you want any of the Celtics? Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Kristaps.
I don't want Kristaps because I have no idea what's wrong with him.
His sickness. It's too ominous.
But that's the scary part is nobody has released what his sickness is.
Yeah.
No one said a word. It's way too quiet. It is way too scary to me. Otherwise, I'd say Kristaps would be great.
Yeah.
That's too high of a risk.
Right, fit wise. And then the other outlier one would be Zion as well. But
I would love Zion. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there's so many red flags.
The risk is so high, but I also, there's a part of me that thinks in a new place he can fix himself. But the risk is so high.
We'll get back to the Celtics because I just thought of Zion all of a sudden. But the Zion thing is interesting because obviously we have Trajan Langdon, who knows of Zion.
Yeah.
So if Trajan
and
feels
Trey Murphy,
right, but more so with Zion and his injury history and things like that. Like if Trajan feels confident enough in Zion to go get him, then I would feel confident that we are trading for him.
Sure.
Just because he knows the history a little bit better.
Yeah.
But would you take like Jaylen Brown or Derek White from the Celtics?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I mean, easy. Derek White for sure. He would fit like a glove. I would even think about Jaden Ivey for Derek White.
Okay.
Because Derek White, he's like what, 30 years old, maybe 31, 32, whatever.
He's a champion. He's a playoff contending piece. Yeah.
He's a great 3-point shooter. He's a defender.
Yeah.
If you want to take advantage of Cade Cunningham and where he's going and what he is now, you need to continue to acquire veterans and just better talent to put around him.
Yeah.
Not saying Ivy's not going to be talented. I'm still Team Ivy. I still want to see what they look like. I thought he was great. He shot the ball tremendously before he got hurt. And I think that backcourt can still be great. But it's something you have to think about as Trajan Langdon. Does it make sense to just get the established player in Derek White versus hope and pray that Jaden stays healthy and continues his progression and his 3-point shooting and all that?
Yeah.
It's just something to think about.
That's my biggest thing too, because like Malik and I have talked about it, that Jaden had one of his best seasons before he got hurt this year.
Yeah.
And he was shooting nearly 40% from 3.
Yeah.
Can he come back to that? I don't know.
If he stayed he was only shooting 4 or 5 threes a game, which was a very smart shot diet for him at the time.
Yeah.
18 a game on 4 or 5 threes a game, 40%. He was playing really high level basketball. So, yeah.
But that's where
one thing.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing. I do not want to bet against Jaden Ivey though. That dude's a tough work. That's a hard-working guy. He he is 100% committed to his craft. I am not. I would be very scared and hesitant if I'm Trajan to trade Ivy too. As much as you'd have to think about it, I think Ivy's the type of dude that's gonna make you regret that decision.
Yeah, but I also think that if you call a team up and there's a guy that you want and the picks are what you want and everything, and then they say, but we want Ivy, I'm more willing to give him up, knowing that maybe that's just the last piece that they need to make the trade.
Yeah.
So it's tough. That's where the Pistons are at, and that's a good segue because Malik and I have been talking about this a lot, and it makes it tough to figure out who you trade, who you don't trade.
Yeah.
Who do you consider as the Pistons core?
Ooh.
Like, who do you need to keep on this team?
I have three players in my head immediately, but I'll go.
Me too, Malik. I think it's pretty clear, and I bet you we have the same three, Malik. It's Cade.
Yep.
It's Duren.
Yep.
And it has to be Asar Thompson.
That's my three. That's my three.
And it has to be Asar Thompson.
Yeah.
As much as a Pistons fan, my untouchable would be Isaiah Stewart because I think he plays so much to the culture, but I understand it's a business. But that dude is the culture and the heart of this team is Isaiah Stewart.
Whenever we have these conversations, I say the same thing, that I would hate for him to go because he is like a key of what this team is, but I also understand the business.
Yeah. So like, I would hate to see Isaiah go. Also, Ron Holland, like I love what Isaiah has established as the dog pound too. Like he's taken Duren under his wing. A lot of Duren's growth has come from Isaiah. Same with Ron Holland and that type of adage and that type of approach that Pistons fans feed into as well. We're creating a new culture, and by remembering the past, and Isaiah is just instrumental in establishing that. So it's difficult. Like when you're thinking about players, you kind of need to transition from to acquire the talent. Like it is Tobias, it is Tim Hardaway, it is, maybe an Ivy or a Ron Holland. Like, I don't know. It's going to be, there's a lot of tough decisions that are going to be made.
Yeah.
And there's going to be decisions as Pistons fans, we're going to be like, I'm excited, but dang, that hurts a little bit in my heart.
It's
like we haven't felt that as Pistons fans though, for a long time, because we haven't had a team that we actually had a connection to.
Right.
So many times we've had these trades and be like, oh yeah, let's see what happens. Cool. Yeah. Can't get worse from here.
Yeah.
So now we, as a fanhood, like we are connected to this team, and there's going to be some backlash, and that is something that Trajan's going to have to orchestrate.
Right. And I think the thing to remember too is, like, because this was my era, to win the championship in 2004, the Pistons had to make tough moves. They got rid of Grant Hill, Jerry Stackhouse, players that people
that were the faces of the franchise.
Like,
I feel
potentially
Jerry
the best
was the biggest move, because Grant had going out with his injury. But Jerry was like in his prime.
Jerry just came off averaging 30.
But both like they had to move on from guys that were like generational talents at the time that people thought, oh, we would never get rid of them. And then we had to make weird small moves that also aligned with that. But like, you have to, it's similar to the Lions. Like, the Lions are at that point, and it's already closing a little bit, where the Lions have to be careful. Like, they need to act now and not be so hesitant to make that big move to push the boundaries. The Pistons are right there, and I don't want to like give up on all the young guys. But again, if the right trade comes in,
sacrifices have to be made.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
It just has to happen.
I agree.
And so that's where, for me, I go back and forth with Duren, because I loved him, and then I was like, why is this guy not improving defensively? And then it's like, oh, he played really good in the playoffs. So for me, like, it feels like it's Cade and Duren, and then Ron Holland or Asar. I can give up either one, but I'm not giving up both.
I agree, and my fourth would be Ron. The reason why I lean towards Asar is that dude is just a different level of athleticism that Ron is not.
Listen, him and his brother have things that nobody else in the league have.
Exactly. Like LeBron said that last year too. He's like, those Thompson guys, nobody is that type of athlete.
Yeah.
So that's where I give the edge to Asar, because he is that dog. He is that defense. He's going to be a first team all defensive player at one point in his career.
Yeah.
I will guarantee you that.
Yeah.
He is just that type of dude. He put the clan. Jalen Brunson played an absolutely amazing series. But can we not forget about Game 6? We go on that one that almost push us to a Game 7, because Asar was on Jalen Brunson, and one of JB's biggest flaws last season was he took Asar off of Brunson for the last 2 minutes of that game, and Brunson had 3 straight buckets to kind of regulate the Knicks.
Yeah.
Asar went on a 6-0 run himself, forced 2 turnovers, had a couple breakaway steals, and the Pistons were up a couple points. Like, we were in the driver's seat.
Well, and the point that I bring up too, in that pivotal time when it was like basically Brunson versus Asar at the very end of the game, Asar was finally back on Brunson, and this was the difference of just who's played longer, because the crowd was so hyped up. You knew that Asar was going to play him really tight. Jalen Brunson knew that. So as soon as he saw that Asar was all amped up and everything, he just did that. Was it a crossover or behind the back?
I think it was like
crossover.
Asar, because Asar, that's why it was a snatch
it
back.
Was dirty
because Asar was overplaying him, and he knew that he was going to reach and go for a steal, and that's just like the youth difference. So I love that play out of Asar, and he's only going to get better, like you said. My only fear is that he's becoming, to me, the mold of like, and it's not a one-to-one comparison, but the way that they fill out the roster, similar to like Andre Drummond, where like they have so much talent, they're athletic, they can do so many things, but almost in the eyes of the fans, they're doing more than they are. Like, people view Asar as like, I don't know, 3rd or 4th best player on this team, at least in the playoffs.
Which he is.
But like,
he is.
He still can't shoot. I'm nervous that he won't get better at shooting.
Sure.
He needs to be more of like, I don't know, like the 5th option, but that go-to defender kind of guy.
Also, what's wrong with him being a supercharged Tony Allen? What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but Tony Allen was never viewed as like a top 3 player on his team, I don't think.
He was viewed as like the heart and soul of the team.
Exactly.
Though. They don't move unless Tony moves.
And that's all I'm saying. Like, if we can get pieces around them that pushes Asar down the line, as far as like, obviously he's not a big scorer, but like as a scoring option and offensively, that it's not a big deal. I would love him to be that defensive guy that just is like this. Like, he needs to be like that Tayshaun Prince role.
One, shout out to Grindfather.
Yeah.
Shout out Tony Allen. You know, that is Memphis through and through.
Yeah.
If you talk to a Grizzlies fan, Tony Allen is their Grizzly.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Zebo.
He's the one.
Come on now. 2, the one thing that encourages me with Asar is, 1, his form looks a lot cleaner than it did in his rookie year. Also, he can be a ball dominant player. If you remember when the Pistons were on national TV against the Sixers, Cade Cunningham was out. They put the ball in Asar's hand. He was
making it happen.
Guard.
He was making it happen.
He was making it happen.
Yeah.
He was running the offense. He was playing at that fast pace and making decisions. He can pass the ball. He can make some moves on the dribble. He's a good cutter off the ball. The biggest thing for him is shooting.
Yeah.
And but that's the same thing with Ron Holland too.
Right.
Shooting. Only you get the bonus of playmaking and athleticism and passing with Asar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I go Asar over Ron.
Right. And I think,
but I love Ron Holland.
Yeah, and I think there's still a lot to be untapped with Ron Holland as well, but I don't know. It's hard either way.
What a great pick by Trajan too. A month into the role, and they reached for Ron, and a lot of people were saying Ron Holland was going to be in the 7 to 10 range, maybe even past the 10th pick.
Yeah.
They pick him at 5, and it was a stunner, and people were saying it was a bad pick.
Right. But he had the most talent, I think, but it's hard because being from the G League and stuff, nobody had really seen him. And he's probably got the most upside in that draft, to be honest.
Listen,
ahead,
my instincts on that draft were completely off, because I did not want Matas Buzelis, who looks like he could become something. And I'm cool with it. I was really interested in Cody Williams, who had a terrible rookie season.
I did like Cody Williams too.
I liked him. Yeah.
I liked Ron. I liked Cody. I liked Matas Buzelis too. But yeah, Cody Williams, isn't that the cousin of Jalen Williams or the brother?
I think that's his little brother.
Yeah.
Man, don't give up on him just yet.
I'm not giving up on him. I'm not giving up on him, but man, he had a rough rookie year.
Yeah, he looked terrible.
Yeah.
He looked terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So in that vein, and I guess that's kind of why I think a lot of people lean Jaden Ivey, because he has like already kind of proven that he's a good player, and I think a lot of people view him as that. Whereas like people are starting to see Asar, and he would add value to a trade. So I think most people are leaning towards Ivy because even when we've seen them and Cade, it's been inconsistent of whether how good they're playing together. But again, if somebody was to come to me and I was like, oh, I want to do these many picks, Jaden Ivey and whatever, and then they counter and they say, no, we don't want Jaden Ivey when we want Asar. That's where I think I would debate it.
I wouldn't debate it. I think Asar is untouchable to me. There's too much. His ceiling's too high at this moment that I can't include. Like, I wouldn't include him in the Kevin Durant trade.
Yeah.
No chance.
Okay.
I can't do that.
So then I just want to go on the same vein then. If we went to Memphis and wanted Jaren Jackson and it was like maybe, I don't even know, 2 first rounds and Jalen Duren, is that where you say no as well?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the
no.
baseline.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Okay.
I think Cade, Duren, and Asar are just my 3 untouchables at this moment, unless it's
okay.
I'm trying to think of what player I would. Devin Booker, I would include.
That's why I said that's one of the few options where I'm like, if Devin Booker is on the table, then
yeah. I mean, Devin Booker.
I would
Giannis,
be so sad, but Asar would have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's that class of player that I would include him in, and that does not include Cade.
Okay.
I'm not trading Cade for anybody.
Yeah.
That includes Luka Doncic.
Woo!
Not trading Cade for anybody.
Guess what? Neither am I. Neither am I.
I don't.
Yeah.
Especially not Anthony Davis in the first round pick. I'll tell you what.
Listen, Cade Cunningham is not even 25 years. Is he? He's not 25 yet, is he? Or is he 25?
No, I don't think so.
Does,
no,
yeah.
I think he's like 23. Hold on, get you.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, at one point I was down to trade Cade, but I think at this point it's
no, sir.
Pretty good. He did make. Do you feel
23?
Like,
Cade is 23.
He's only 23. Come on, man.
How do you feel, Chris, about his playoff performance? It was a little rocky, right?
I'm positive.
I mean,
it was good, but it was a little rocky.
It was good. I think it was the right type of rocky, though. It was the type of he's getting his licks in. They got a couple wins, and it's going to fuel him to be better the next time.
Yeah.
Like he had a couple opportunities for big shots to potentially win a game, and he missed it.
Yeah.
And that's going to help him in his growth and progression. But also, he had big moments that showed himself that he's that dude. Like in game 2, 30-plus points. He put the team on his back, behind the back dribble, jamming in the garden, pointing at Carmelo. Come on. I think it was the best type of Rocky that it could be. Like, and this is exactly how I'd want it to be if we weren't going to win the series. I'd want him to have some success and some failures, and not it being an overwhelming failure, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I think
like let's
definitely how he bounces back this year is going to be a big part of that. But I will say it made me a little nervous, and not like that I'm not believing in Cade anymore, but like the amount of turnovers definitely, and sloppy turnovers. That's the part that really made me feel not good.
Sure. So this is some of his stats from the playoffs. He still averaged 25 points per game in the 6-game playoffs.
Was it 25, 8, and 8?
25, 8, and 8.
Yeah.
He had 5 turnovers. He almost had 2 steals. He had over a block a game. And his 3-point percentage was low. He only shot 17%.
His 3-point shot wasn't falling in that series.
Yeah. So his biggest things were turnovers, which are going to be, that's going to happen for a star player with ball dominant player that is like a James Harden-esque where he has the ball in his hands all the time in his first playoff series.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
I think the thing that just made me not like those turnovers is how sloppy they were. I think that was the bigger thing, not just the turnovers, but the way that the turnovers happened. Just not excited.
That's where you mix in stamina, like the fact that he's so ball dominant, everything is under his control. No real secondary score because Jaden Ivey is out. Like all the pressure is on you.
Yeah.
The fact that he had that type of series where all the pressure was on him first time, he didn't back away from taking last second shots. They didn't fall, but he still took them.
Mm-hmm.
His 3-point shot wasn't falling. He still took it. Like he never backed down.
Yeah.
Also, I still think the Pistons should have won that series. Tim Hardaway
Listen,
Jr. was fouled. At the
I
end
was
of game
I was
four.
at that game.
That's-
I was there.
That was 3 free throws.
There's so
We win
many
that
scenarios
game.
where they could have won. If
Game six,
Isaiah Stewart played,
you know,
they might have
choke.
won.
Yeah, Isaiah Stewart didn't play the entire
Yeah.
series.
Exactly.
And so that's how close the Pistons were to the Eastern Conference Finals, in my opinion, too. Like, they had a chance.
Mhm.
Yes,
Listen.
Tatum tore his Achilles, I know. But
The Knicks
They
were winning the
realized-
series even if he didn't tear his Achilles. Like
the
they were
Pistons
still in
also
control.
Realistically, they could have, and they had a chance to beat the Knicks. And that's why I think they're going to be very aggressive this offseason.
Speaking of one player we haven't brought up, which I think is very, very important because of his contract, where are you at with Malik Beasley?
Bring that boy back.
Bring
I
him
think
back. Yes.
bring him back. I got my Beasley jersey in the closet. That was the one jersey I picked up this year. Had to.
What
He's what I thought Ben Gordon would have been for the
Yeah.
Pistons.
Basically.
what kind of contract do you want from him? Because this is the part that makes me nervous of how much he's going to ask for.
I think he's going to get the full mid-level exception, which is like 2 years, 14.5 mil. So you're looking at like 2 years, 29 mil. You know, I
don't think that would be bad. I just feel like
I'd love it if we got him back on
he's-
that contract. Because I felt like
my
he would
limit
ask for
is-
more.
my limit is like 50 mil, 3 years, 50 mil.
because I'm just
Yeah.
nervous that this is his best chance to get a bigger paycheck that he's had in his
But
career.
he also has said very much that Detroit is his second home. This is the most fun he's ever had. I know everybody says that, but
You can see
when
it
they
on
have
the
a good
court. You can
season.
see the way he
Yeah.
acts, the way he
Yeah.
moves. Like he is
He's-
invested
Yeah.
in the culture.
He's invested. I would be surprised if Malik isn't back next season. And I think he's going to get the full mid-level. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is probably gone.
Yeah.
Is Dennis Schroeder
Um,
going to be back?
I think Dennis is. I would like him back.
Yeah,
I think
I'd love
Dennis
to
is
have him.
gone.
He was so good in that Knicks
I
series.
think he's
Yeah.
gone too. I think he
I think
falls
Tim
in
and
line.
Dennis are the two that are gone.
Yeah, they fall in line too much, and that's why I'm a little bit nervous about Malik Beasley. Of like the teams that are close to contending that just need that one other piece might overpay for one of those kind of guys, and we can't overpay for all of them.
No, and I think the full mid-level is completely appropriate for Malik. And I mean, he signed for veteran minimum, 1 year veteran minimum for us this past season. So
Yeah,
I think he's good. I think 15 mil over 2 or 3 years, completely appropriate, and I think gets the job done.
yeah. Which I think too can play into if they make a big splash before then, that they can say, hey, if you just take this amount of money, we're gonna
We can
run it
make
back.
this deal.
Yeah, we're
and we
gonna
can make this deal or something.
right. We're gonna try to run this back, and
Yeah.
we're trying to make
Yeah.
something happen. Like convince him to stay too. I think that would be
Do
key.
you guys think the Pistons are going to make any moves on the two? Also, unpopular opinion or popular opinion, I don't know. I hate how the NBA has split up round 1 and round 2. I love staying up till 1 a.m. looking at the second round picks. Like, I truly am upset that they split up round 1 and round
I
2.
agree. I wish it was
I-
just one draft still. I agree.
I just wish it was one draft.
Don't think I
It's not
even
the NFL.
realized. I don't even think I realized they did that.
Yeah, they did it last year. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
it's like, this is
Bronny
not
got
the
picked on the
NF
second day. And it was in the
This is not-
studio. It wasn't
Yeah,
even at the
that's-
Yeah. It's not the NFL. There's not 6 rounds. Like, it's 2 rounds. You can do that in one night. You don't need to try to get more TV ratings.
Well, you also don't
Like-
have to interview every single player.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem with the NFL draft. They drag on each pick. They get like 10 minutes between each pick. Like the NBA is kind of going the same thing where they wait the full time because I'm sure teams already know their picks or at least have a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, they get leaked.
And then it's like, okay, we're gonna wait till the time is over so we can get the interview of the guy that got picked before, talk to his family,
Yeah.
blah blah blah, go to a break, get in more commercials. Yeah, it's annoying. I don't want to.
Do you guys think the Pistons are going to make a move on draft night, though? I mean, they have just the 1 second round pick at 37. Do you think they move into? I think there's a chance they trade into the late first round.
I could imagine it. I could see them doing it, like trading their second round pick and like a future first or something, or a future second.
Maybe.
Or maybe just buying a pick because first round picks you've been able to buy at 29, 30 lately. So
To me, though, I don't think there's much of a difference between the end of the first round and pick 37.
Yeah.
that's fair.
Honestly.
That's fair.
Unless
Yeah,
you
that's a good
have
point,
like
too.
one specific guy that you want. Malik and I were looking at it before. Like, there's a lot of guys around that 37 mark that I would like to have on the team.
We both would like Walter Clayton, but we think he'll be gone by the mid to late first. So
I like
Chaz Lanier will be there. Tyrese Proctor will be there at 37.
I like
there are guys at 37.
Yeah, I was telling Malik, I think Proctor is my number one.
Boone's one of my top. Who's the big dude from Stanford? The big center.
Maxime Reynaud. He is nice.
I like him.
He's 7 footer. He can hit the three. He's mobile. Maxime Reynaud is nice.
Athletic. Yeah, Maxine's probably my number one. And then I really like Boone.
I'm happy you brought up Maxime Reynaud. I wasn't thinking about him.
No,
I like Maxime a lot. Fit. I don't like Janai because I feel like he would be perfect in 2005. I think he's 20 years too late in terms of the NBA.
But I feel like his attitude would fit this team though. Like he would fit right into the dog pound.
Yeah. I don't know. I would like to get a 2-guard or something, just so the fact that we would feel a little bit better about trading Ivy or something. I also brought up, I like Ryan Kalkbrenner a lot. You couldn't play him with Jalen Duren, but he would be a good backup center. He can shoot a little bit, 7'2".
Now that he brought up Maxime Reynaud, I kind of just forgot the idea of Ryan Kalkbrenner because like the shooting and all that, like Maxime is a slightly better athlete. He shoots better than Ryan. And he can do all the other stuff Ryan does.
Here's the other thing. At 37 too, or like I'm not even looking at how they're gonna play next to players.
Right.
I'm looking at who's just the best prospect and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. That's why I think that Tyrese Proctor is kind of the best in that area. At least for me. Yeah. Just because he's 6'6", he's long, but he also shoots really good. So he could slide in a lot of different spots.
Yeah. And he's only 20. Chaz Lanier is like 24. He could slide in immediately, but Tyrese Proctor is only 20.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think they need to move into the end of the first round just because it's kind of similar. This draft class is deep and it's kind of top heavy. So I don't know, but
it'll be interesting though. I can't believe it feels like this is the first draft I'm not really too invested in too much just because the Pistons only have a second round pick. It's weird.
And I mean, if a trade comes across and somebody wants a random second round pick, sure, you throw it in there. But I don't know. I don't know what trade that would be. Draft night could be crazy though because of all the trade implications that are maybe going on.
I mean, it sounds like they've Suns have put a deadline of by the draft they will trade Kevin Durant. So
and then that would just start everything.
Yeah, I think the whole league waiting on the Durant trade. Last I heard, the best offer was from Toronto. I think it was Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, and the number 9 pick.
Oh, so only one first. Malik almost had it. I think he had 2 first rounds.
Yeah.
So if I'm Phoenix and that's my best offer, I take that. You need to get a pick in the top 10. Like Kevin Durant's also 35.
Yeah.
On a 1-year deal, you're not going to get so much for KD.
Right.
It's just not anymore.
Yeah. He's valuable for a contender, but at the same time, you don't know how long he's going to hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I would love to see Durant in 2 places. My 2 favorite places that I'd love to see him is Toronto, just to see Kevin Durant in a Raptors uniform would be really intriguing.
That would be trippy.
My other one, I think, just from a fit, I would love to see him in Minnesota with Anthony. Like
I've heard a lot of people.
Anthony Edwards, his favorite player, his GOAT, he says, is Kevin Durant, and there's so much mutual respect there. Even though Durant doesn't want to go to Minnesota, like Minnesota also has every right to just trade for him, and Kevin Durant has to play out his 1-year contract.
Yeah.
But that would be a lot of fun to watch those 2 play together too. I think it would be fun.
All right. And then that goes to, unfortunately, this is one of the weaker free agency classes.
Yeah.
But the Pistons are still linked to certain guys. Is there a specific guy that you would want the Pistons to go after? If at all?
Reed.
Okay.
Nas Reed.
I go back and forth on Nas Reed. I don't know about that one. I go back and forth on Nas.
So, I mean, here's the thing. If there's no other big on the market, like a Jaren Jackson Jr., like a 7-footer swingman type of thing, like Nas Reed, 6'9", 6'10", can shoot the 3 ball.
He does everything.
Can put the ball on the floor, has edge to him, and also is a defensive anchor too. So I really like Nas. He would be my number 1. Bobby Portis, if you can get him at the right price, I think would be a nice fit.
I have a question on Nas Reed.
What's your question?
How much are you paying him, and what are the expectations?
See, he's another one that it falls into the same category as Malik, where I'm nervous because of how good he played down the stretch for Minnesota, that people are going to try to overpay for Nas Reed. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
That's the issue in my head. How much do you pay?
I mean, he's coming off. He was making $14 million this past season. He's opting out of his contract that would have paid him another $14 million next year. So it's going to be north of that.
He wants more.
I think it would. I think the starting number would have to be $20 million a year.
Yeah, that's around where I'm at.
And I would be willing to pay anywhere in the 20 to 24 million a year range for Nas. I mean, given you'd have to make some moves in your salary to make that possibility, but you can. And what does that mean? Does that mean Isaiah Stewart's gone? Maybe, because that also fills one of those roles too.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, we talked before the show, Semi Aldama from Memphis, 7-footer, sweet shooter. He's not as physical as these other guys that we talked about, but he's lanky. He's a good shooter. He's streaky, and he's tall. I mean, he's just not muscular and built and have that edge to him as much of a Nas or a Bobby does.
Yeah.
But he makes sense. He makes sense next to Jalen Duren if you want to start him there. He makes sense.
But I don't know. I don't think any of these guys are starters. I think their starting unit's kind of set, honestly. Like Tobias is starting at the 4. He's like, unless you get a Durant or something like that, or some Zion or something crazy like a Trey Murphy or something like that, Tobias is your 4. You still have Cade, Ivy, and then maybe Tobias moves to the 3 if Tim leaves, and then Asar's at the 4. Like, you got to make room for Asar and Ivy at this point, because before Asar was coming off the bench because Ivy was in the starting lineup with Tim Hardaway at the 3. So, I don't think anybody you bring in here is going to be the starter.
See, I've gone through so many trade scenarios in my head that at this point I kind of expect some people to go. So in my mind, I'm just like, he slides in at the 3, he slides in at the 4, not realizing that like this could still be mostly the team going into next year. Yeah.
And honestly, for the Pistons, consistency can be huge. When was the last time we had a consistent summer? Like, you bring both your guys back where they feel like they could have done more and they didn't.
Yeah.
Like, that's great too. You just focus on your internal development, which you can do now because you have the right mix of veterans, the right culture, and a right mix of youth. Like, it's the perfect situation to either go big fish hunting or just commit to your culture and grow from there.
Yeah, which leads to another good question, because of your fandom, the way that you are, would you rather take the Pistons making the NBA Finals 5 straight years with no wins, or 1 ring, but then go on another like 15 to 20 year drought?
That's an easy answer. Give me my ring. Give me my ring.
Okay, that's all I was looking for.
I want to at least in my life see 1 championship for the Pistons. And at that point, I'm good. Like, of course you'd want to see more, but it's like climbing the mountain, right? You keep climbing until you hit the mountaintop. And there's no saying after that 5 years of hitting the finals and you don't win it every single year.
Yeah.
What means that the next time you're going to be able to just get it done, So I would take another Sad Boy era part 2. If the Pistons got a ring, 100%. It could be worse than the first Sad Boy era. I don't care. I just want the ring.
I don't want to become Washington. Let's not do that. Please, let's not.
Dude,
I don't want to be Charlotte.
But I don't. Yeah. I would lean so much into that. I would have the fake Larry O'Brien in my apartment. I'd have a fake championship ring. I would have everything. I'd be popping champagne that night like I was playing 48 minutes a game. That would be me. That would be me.
Okay, so now we've kind of gone over everything. I want to know, and we'll start with Malik. Dream off season this year.
Ooh.
Dream off season for the Pistons?
Yeah. What would be the best off season for them?
See, like, I've given up on some dreams at this point. I don't know. What would the dream be now?
I mean, maybe,
because like Devin Booker was my dream, but I feel like that's like. So, can I still say that's my dream?
Can we do a dream plus a realistic expectation?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. My dream would still be Devin Booker.
I think
somehow.
Most of us, our dream is Devin Booker.
Yeah. That's like
mine's not.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Malik and I tend to go pretty much to Devin Booker every time.
Either that or, even though Chris made it sound very realistic, I feel like Trey Murphy would be a dream. Like it's so like getting Trey Murphy would be amazing in the way he just slide in seamlessly. Yeah. But
But I would say that's on the realistic table just because we know that those guys are available. So that's where I say realistic necessarily, because dream scenario is almost like you can't even really do it necessarily, or it'd be almost impossible. Realistic, I think, is okay to put like Trey Murphy, the Boston guys. Even
realistic, like if we got Derek White, I would be extremely happy.
Mm-hmm.
That like with that realistic, I'd be very happy. Even if we got Santi Aldama, I would like the move because he's a productive guy that's been in like a winning culture. Even though Memphis has been up and down, they've made the playoffs like 3 or 4 of the last 5-6 years. Santi Aldama knows what it's like to be on a winning team. So those are realistic options I'd like.
Okay. All right, Chris. What do you? Or do you want me to go first and you make the big finish?
Nah, you'll do last. I'll go first. My dream is we bring everybody back. We bring back Tim. We bring back Malik.
And we win.
We bring back Schroeder. And I don't know what parts would be part of it. We make our big swing this offseason as we get Jaren Jackson Jr.
Okay.
That's the new school Rashid. And he slides right next to JD. Our young guys take another step. We win 50+ games. We make it to the conference finals. That's my dream.
Okay, but you have to get rid of somebody for Jaren Jackson. Even in a dream, you have to get rid of
you
people.
guys have to go.
No, you said it's a dream.
Okay, well, all right then. Give us your realistic then.
All right. My realistic is we get a stretch big with the second round pick, or maybe like a Proctor, someone like that, someone solid. Santi Aldama or Bobby Portis is our free agent pickup. We re-sign Malik Beasley, Tim walks, and then we re-sign either Dennis or get another backup point guard. I honestly I think there's going to be a lot of movement in the NBA this offseason. I'm not 100% sure the Pistons are going to be ones that make a big move just based off of leaning into their youth and consistency.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm almost nervous about it, because I feel like they're going to go along the same lines of the Lions of like, if they're not a culture fit, we don't want to go for it. Which there's some benefits, but it makes me a little bit nervous when teams say that or go along those lines. Obviously my big dream is to have Bol and Mo Bamba on the team.
Bol should have been on the team.
The failed physical.
Yeah, the failed physical.
Bol was a Piston.
Pistons legend, Bol. Pistons legend.
I was already looking at trying to get a jersey when that trade was going through.
We were so close.
That jersey would have been epic. It would have been right up next to the Peyton Siva 34 I got.
Yeah. I don't know if I have like a dream per se besides like a Devin Booker type deal, but even then, that one's so hard to figure out who you'd have to give up. That's one where it'd have to be like Tobias and Jaden Ivey plus a couple picks. They might even ask for one more player. Who knows? So that one's hard to work out in my head. But if we go like realistically, I think I'm on Tyrese Proctor as my draft pick. I think in free agency, if we get Malik on a good deal, I would like to have him back. I'm cool with Hardaway.
What's
and
a
Schroeder.
good deal? What's a good deal for Malik?
I think that mid-level exception that you brought up is good. I really don't know if I want to go any more than that.
Yeah.
Because he's just such a 3-point specialist. And sure, you can maybe add like $1 million or $2 million because he's got like heart for the team. But I don't want to go too crazy on it. Let Tim and Dennis walk. I would love to get like Nickeil Alexander-Walker on this team.
He would be a nice fit.
Him as a backup point guard, that would be awesome. If we got I never thought about that.
That's a good.
Because every time I see Marcus Sasser come in and he's just so small, like sure he's a great shooter, but if you could have somebody like Nickeil come off the bench and be like a long guard that can also handle the ball a bit, I like that idea.
Marcus Sasser's the perfect third string point guard.
Yeah, he really is.
Like that's a compliment. I mean it in a compliment, honestly.
Yeah. And I don't think I want Naz Reid personally. Maybe Bobby Portis. Again, it would be the right price, but it would have to be pretty cheap. But I like the way that he plays. He could fill in that Isaiah Stewart role which then would allow us to maybe trade Isaiah Stewart. And that's where I would want Trey Murphy or Jaren Jackson to be the bigger swing.
Sure. Yeah. Jaren Jackson Jr. is my dream.
Yeah.
He's the one I'm watching. For the
I
rest
really
of the
like
summer.
Trey Murphy because obviously being a Pelicans fan and
I
him
just
coming to
don't
the
know.
Pistons would be great.
Yeah, I think there's a better chance that Memphis blows it up than Joe Dumars gets rid of Trey. It's kind of I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now.
Trey could be the building block if they
Yeah.
give up on Zion and trade him.
Just turned 25. His birthday was like 2 days ago.
Right. Exactly. And I don't like, as much as I like Jaylen Brown as well. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go there either, because that might be another scenario where there's. I don't know.
Joe, I would give up a lot for Jaylen Brown. I think whatever's talk out there about Jaylen Brown being available is complete.
Yeah, I don't.
Oak.
I think
I
they
don't
would
think
like.
it's true.
They would have somebody overpay to get him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think if you did a Desmond Bain offer of 5 first-round picks, I don't think you're getting Jaylen Brown even at that price. I
Right,
think you have a lot more talent you need to add.
That would be like on the lines of like Devin Booker, where you need to give up a lot of first-round picks plus like 2 quality players that have potential or something.
Jaylen Brown would be a player I'd consider trading Asar Thompson for.
Okay.
He would be in that group.
And that's where I think I put Trey Murphy or Jaren Jackson in the more realistic category. But that would be like my dream offseason.
Sure.
I still don't know if I'd rather have Trey Murphy or Jaren Jackson.
I feel like Jaren Jackson I don't know, dude. Like the more I think about it, Jaren Jackson just adds more defense than Trey does, even though Trey's a great defender but Jaren also still has the 3-point shooting. He's really ambidextrous, can use both hands. I feel like he would fit really nice next to Jalen Duren, who is a solid defending center, but Jaren Jackson Jr. will cover up every little bit of Jalen Duren's
defensive player of the year caliber defender.
He is. I mean, he won defensive player of the year this past season.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, because Victor got hurt, but
yeah, but still, but Trey Murphy at the same time, like I said, a lot of the times you're going to have to give up possibly Tobias for some of these contracts.
Yeah.
Trey Murphy maybe is the exception, the way that his cap hit works, but
yeah,
you're going to have to get rid of like Tobias or Beef Stew in these trades. So I'm trying to think of like who I'm replacing. And if I'm going with 2 guards in the draft and free agency, if I go Tyrese Proctor and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they're at least flexible. So I'm still okay with, I think, getting Jaren Jackson. So I think Jaren Jackson would be the number 1, and then Trey Murphy. Yeah, either of those
I'm with you.
would be fantastic. I'm with you though. I don't know if they pull the trigger on anything, which makes me slightly nervous. But
yeah, it's cool to speculate. If I had to like, back against the wall, I got to pick Pistons make a big move or don't make a big move this offseason. I'd say they don't.
Yeah,
would be where I would lean right now.
Right. So if they don't make a move and they kind of just run it back, they maybe add 1 player in free agency or something like that. Nobody meaningful. Where you already said 50 wins, but where do they need to line up? Whether it's standings, playoffs, to have a successful season, because now it's like the Lions in 2023, where the Lions kind of made a surprise surge at the end of the season. That next year they had more expectations. They went through with the expectations. Then the year after that, they had to live up to even more expectations. So the Pistons are on this incline, and they have to keep achieving that next goal. And now we've moved the goalpost. We got the playoff wins.
Yeah. Well, we need to win a playoff game at home next year too. And I think the goal. So I think your natural trajectory, it's not win total. I think you'd have to win more than 44. I think even if you win 45, 46, it's fine. I think you got to be above the 6 seed. So I think even 5 seed is fine. You have to win a playoff series next year.
Yeah.
I think they need to make it to the semis. I'd throw all the other stuff out the windows, throw the wins, throw the records, throw the awards, throw it all out the window. You got to make it to the second round, however that looks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of where Malik and I were before. We were kind of talking about it. We're like, they have to be top 6, have to potentially win a series. And again, if there's injuries or something that comes up, sure, maybe that changes the outlook. But
sure, I think if there's no major injuries, you have to make it to round 2, or you have to start really thinking about if this 4 is what's right.
Yeah.
Because if you stay steady, then your growth has stopped. So you need to make an adjustment.
Right. And it turns into the Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond era.
Yes.
And
we're going to go back to that.
And I think that's the only thing that makes me nervous about this team when people start talking about, oh, I don't want to make this move because I don't want to get rid of him because he's my favorite player. Again, I said it for years, and Chris fought me on it, that Andre Drummond cannot be your best player or your second best player. And it just never got it done. And
You're right.
It sucks. It sucks to have to admit that, but like, that's where I'm nervous about where this team is, and I'm also excited all at the same time because winning comes with heartbreak. And so there's going to be a point where we have to figure out who do we keep, who do we get rid of, where can this team go as it's formed right now, and what do they need to do differently. So, oh, we didn't touch on JB Bickerstaff. I wanted to touch on that real quick.
Yeah.
Do you like him for the long term? Do you like his energy?
Love him. I mean, he's everything this team needed. He's just all about the culture. He's all about accountability. He's all for his players, and his players are all for him. The biggest thing I look for in a coach is how do the players respond?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the X's and O's. It's not, how he handles a press conference or what he says. It's how do the players respond? It's the energy that he's giving in those closed door meetings or to his team that his team is then responding with.
Right.
As a head coach, you need someone that's an inspirer, and he is that for his guys right now. And he should have won coach of the year. Kenny did not deserve that. Kenny won more games, and they won just as much playoff games as the Pistons, essentially. JB got robbed. He took a 14-win team to 44 wins without any major changes. I don't know how you just give it to Kenny, because I don't know. It's just really bizarre to me that we can't put into account that significant amount of growth from also a toxic organization to all of a sudden people are talking about us in the next face of the Eastern Conference. So I don't know. I think JB got absolutely robbed out of any award that the Pistons had players up for. JB was the one that got just no respect.
Do the texts concern you at all?
No, I love it. I want a coach that gets the text. As long as you're not getting suspended. I think there's a couple games out of the year you got to get thrown out. I think there's a couple times you got to let the refs know. I don't want a Monty Williams on the bench, hands crossed, sitting down, not saying a word. As his team wins 14 games. Dude was there for a paycheck and a paycheck only. I hope he never coaches in the NBA again.
I say we don't bring up him or Killian Hayes ever again. We don't have to.
You know what? Here's the thing with Killian, though. He tried. He
did try. He did
Monty
try.
didn't try, Malik. Monty didn't try. Monty got the bag and took it.
It's still hard to believe that season. It's still hard to believe.
You can't tell me that Monty Williams. I don't know. I got things I can't say on public radio, so I got to stop myself.
Yeah, but I don't know. The only thing, I can't remember which game it was. I feel like there was a playoff game where JB got a tech late in the game, and it made me just ever so slightly nervous that it was like a bad time to get a tech. That's my only concern.
Sure.
But I love the angst and like sticking up for your players. I agree with that. You need that.
I think if you're looking at it from the Pistons perspective this year, though, like if a technical free throw in a playoff game was going to make or break your season, if I said that to you before the season started, you say, let's do it. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Right. No, I get it. I don't think I have anything else. Do you guys have anything? Like, where are you at as a Pistons fan, Chris? Like, are you just ecstatic and just hoping for the best?
How am I not? I mean, I've experienced, what year is this? I've experienced 19 years of fanhood, essentially, as a Pistons fan. And and this is the first time that I've actually gone into an off season excited since, 2015-16. And so we're talking it's been 9 years since having this level of excitement going into an off season. So yeah, I'm amazed. I'm good. Yeah. I'm just excited to see where it lands.
After all the turmoil, failed drafts, failed draft lotteries.
Yeah.
I'm just also elated for just this. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning, just the state of Detroit sports. Detroit sports
Yeah.
have been down for decades. And now the Tigers are the #1 team in the major leagues.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions are, Super Bowl favorites. The Pistons are now being talked about as a potential top 4 team in the East. Like, what a time for, Detroit sports. And
Yeah, the
for
Red
the city of
Wings are the
Detroit.
worst. The Red Wings are the worst Detroit sports team.
Yeah.
That's a
And
totally different script than what I was growing up with.
Sure, and you know what? That might flip in a season with how everything else is going, right?
Yeah.
So just shout out to Detroit, shout out to the fans, shout out to everybody that's, made it through just the worst times as a fan and just staying loyal to your core because it's easy to switch. And, it's fun. Let's enjoy it. Let's embrace it. I'm excited for some like playoff baseball. I'll definitely be in attendance either at Comerica or if they play Cleveland in the series, I will be definitely making it out to, a Tigers game. And then I was hoping the Lions would be playing in Cleveland this year, but the Browns play in because now I'm actually a mile away from Huntington Field where the Browns play. Like I could have season tickets for the Browns and literally walk to the arena every single day.
Wow, getting to
I
see
won't.
front row of Kenny Pickett's show. Yeah, nice.
Listen, Chris is the leader of the dog pound. Who saw it coming?
I will say, it makes it easier for me to kind of have somewhat of an interest in the Browns just because it's AFC and the Browns are so bad.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see Shador. I want to see Shador Sanders.
Well, he's got to beat out my boy Joe Flacco first. So.
I hate Joe Flacco. He's such.
Come on, man.
He's such a
Super
ploy.
Bowl champ.
No,
Joe
it's just
Flacco.
like Cleveland fans that just root for Joe Flacco. I'm just like, if you're starting Joe Flacco, that is everything you need to know about your team right there.
He brought him to the
to
playoffs.
But here's the thing, like they're not like horrible. Like Joe Flacco, the roster was good enough where just decent quarterback play got them to the playoffs 2 years ago.
All right, this is too much Cleveland talk. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah.
You started it. You started it.
I know.
But one thing I'll always credit you for, though, is being a true fan, which it doesn't always happen all too often, especially in the NBA nowadays.
Yeah.
That I have to give you your props for that, especially because you've went through the hardest of times. I at least got to see a chip. Malik got to see a chip. Now, I started in a bad era. I mean, Pistons had Grant Hill and Jerry Stackhouse, but they also had guys like Brian Cardinal and Eric Montrose and stuff. So I've been through it a little bit too, but I at least got to see winning ways. And this is your first sniff at it, really.
Yeah, I will say the weird thing about me is I feel like my fanhood just grew and grew more as the Pistons got worse and worse.
Yeah,
which is usually not how that goes.
Yeah. Well, see, that's how. Now you kind of see how I was with the Lions for so long.
I mean, that's everybody, the Lions.
But now, I've always been hypercritical of the Pistons because I've seen winning basketball. And now that's like flipped. That's where I'm with the Lions now. I'm hypercritical on the Lions because it's like, let's maintain this. And so that's where the Pistons are getting back to, where it's like, no, they need to step it up and they need to keep going. But I'm super excited. I'm excited to be a Pistons fan. If it wasn't for stinking FanDuel, we'd have a different conversation. But I'm not paying.
What do you mean? Wait, what?
We can't watch them unless we have a subscription to FanDuel because they bought out Bally, who wants a $20 subscription.
Listen, FanDuel is. I use a friend's FanDuel, so I can't complain.
I enjoy the sports betting app of FanDuel, but them buying out Bally and going with the same subscription service, I don't approve of. So I cannot watch Tigers games or Pistons games. So I'm glad the Pistons are good enough to get some nationally televised games and make the playoffs, which was great for me.
I will say I do love having League Pass. League Pass is great. Works awesome.
Yeah, well.
Hey, you get to go to games more than I do. All right. I got to put it on the calendar when they come to Cleveland every year and make sure I go.
Yeah. So anyway, do you guys have any final words, Chris? Looking back on the podcast over all these years, I mean, Malik and I have been doing it longer, but you were the one that started it. So got us going.
I mean, I will say, one, it's crazy that it's been 7 years. It's wild to where I feel like all three of us were at a time in our lives 7 years ago versus where we all are now.
Right.
It's weird. It's just really bizarre.
Right.
And and speaking just from a personal perspective, it's just like never did I think I would be in Cleveland.
Right.
But
Well, it's cool because, like, obviously we were friends before the podcast.
yeah,
But be able to have like an extended friendship into the podcast and do that for so long, and then bring Malik in, who now is like,
thanks guys,
holding
Thanks,
my
guys.
child, coming over, hanging out, and you know, creating a friendship off of a podcast it's a pretty cool
man.
thing.
I mean, I think we're so lucky, all three of us, have been able to do this and like make true friend. This is a true friendship, all three of us.
Right.
And like, it's really special, and I don't know if there's the right words to say. And then, I don't want to get too sappy with it, but I think it's, everything happens for a reason, and we were very lucky to be in a certain place in all of our lives that we all cross paths, and now we have this relationship forever.
Right. And it's fun to just take an hour out of the day or so to do it. And then obviously the tournament is the big special where like my brother looks forward to getting on that one. Sammy is always talking to me about the NCAA tournament bracket.
Shout out Sammy.
Yeah. So like we have events throughout the year that we look forward to, and it's just cool. It's something to do, even though, we don't have a ton of viewers or anything, but to be able to do it for so long is just a testament to our love of sports and things like that.
That's it, man. And I think, viewers come and go, but I think just doing it for the passion and the love for the sport, like you said, that's the important part, and that's why we keep this train going, right?
Yeah.
Here's the 300 and here's the 300 more.
Right. And I keep telling Malik at one point, I want to just have a little station in my house so we can do weekend podcasts.
Absolutely.
Since we're so busy, to make it a little easier that we don't have to be on.
That's the podcast dream. We made our Pistons dreams. That's the podcast dream.
Yeah.
Hey,
for to have like every other week just laid back, like just sitting back, having a couple beers, like
That's it. And you know what? My new spot, I'm gonna have an office, so I'm like, maybe I'll have a microphone in there, and maybe I can get on a couple more calls, and we can actually start doing this a little bit more. It'll be fun.
Yeah, there you go.
Sounds
hey, we might have to do another special for that 313 episode.
We might.
Like our one intern was mentioning, just because that would be around December, so the Pistons will be back in season. It'll be like a little mid-season review.
Yeah.
So depending
That'd
on
be
things,
sweet.
we'll see. But this has been Views from the Sidelines. We finished episode 300, and here's to however many more we can keep going. Who knows?
Who knows what the future holds?
Who knows what we're doing? But it's going to be exciting. Chris, thank you for joining us. Malik, as always.
As always, thanks, Chris.
I appreciate you guys. It's been so much fun. Go Pistons.
We'll see you guys next time.